This is your macroeconomics video on open market operations. This video and the two following it are tools that the Federal Reserve's Federal Open Market Committee can use to advance certain monetary policies. Remember, policymakers at the Fed have to decide if they want to make monetary policy expansionary or contractionary. Those things are going to affect the interest rate, and they have implications for aggregate demand spending based upon whether you're going to encourage people to spend or save. This particular video, we're talking about the most common tool, which is referred to as open market operations. You should highlight this particular video and study it very well, because this is going to be one of the main components of this unit. So of the Federal Reserve's tools in order to change monetary policy, OMOs are the purchase or sale of U.S. government bonds in the free market by the Federal Reserve itself. So government bonds are bought and sold in the free market, and that means anybody who has one can sell it off early before it has matured, or you can buy one from the government. And this includes anybody in the open market. So foreigners can buy bonds, businesses, foreign governments, or of course individuals as a form of savings. So the Federal Reserve, if they wanted to increase the money supply, the Fed would go into the open market and buy bonds. If the Federal Reserve is buying bonds from people, then that means the Fed is going to get the bond, but the Fed is going to give you money for it in exchange. So the Fed gets the bond, but the people get cash. Now, this also would mean in reverse that people are selling their bonds to the Fed, and the Fed is buying their bonds from people. Now, when the Fed decides to buy bonds, they're going to pay these customers with brand new dollars that were not in circulation before. So the Federal Reserve has a stash of pre-printed bills in, let's say, a closet. So they're not circulating, they're not in banks. So when the Fed buys a bond from you, they're going to give you freshly printed bills. And that's going to be new money entering the system. Of course, if you cash in your bond and you take away these new dollars, you now have more money to spend. You, of course, could deposit this in your bank. Most people who buy or sell bonds do it through a bank. This is also going to mean that the minute you put that money into your fractional reserve bank, that bank, of course, has a required reserve amount, so the required reserve amount is going to rise. Banks can use some of that money to make loans, and you, of course, can spend the money that you want. Remember, when people spend money, it causes aggregate demand to rise as well. So this is going to increase the money supply, which lowers the interest rate. And when the interest rate is lower, people spend money, causing aggregate demand to go up. To reduce the money supply, they do the opposite. The Federal Reserve would go into the free market, sell bonds to people. This time they would give you a bond, you would give the government your money, and the government would take your money and put it in storage. So they would take it out of the banking system, thus reducing the amount of American currency in circulation. When you take dollars out of circulation, money supply goes down and the interest rate goes up. If the interest rate is higher, people are incentivized to save their money, not spend it, and that causes aggregate demand to go down.